Hey, it's me, Steve. It is May 26, 2017, one day before going up to the UP. And it was beautiful and sunny out all day till about 20 minutes ago when it just started fucking raining. And anyway, it's about 73 degrees Fahrenheit out. I can't really see the time because I got my lights on. It's probably like 16:45, plus or minus a few minutes. But This is a Geo-Rant, and I don't know how many of you know, I mentioned this in other Geo-Rant, how I make Roadside Geology books when I can, and the upcoming one I want to do for Canada's 150th. I don't have access to a color printer, but I have gotten along a little bit. I printed some stuff out in black and white. Doesn't do it justice at all. But that's going to be the cover. I've already decided on this. That's a Gowa Bay background. All the photos either I took or Sarah took or Mary took. But basically, this is the route. This will be in the book. Up this way. Oh, and up over this way a little bit. There's a very generic geologic map of the same area. Let's see. So when I do these, I wanted to do something a little different. I've seen a lot of guidebooks and roadside geology books over the years that what they do is they tell you how to go along a trip from point A to point B, from point B to point C, from point C to point D, etc., etc. And I didn't want to do that. I want people to kind of be able to start where they want, ignore the ones where they don't want to go. And I notice in a lot of old books and guidebooks, they'll use things like these arbitrary markers. Like they'll be like 1.3 kilometers north of the intersection of road X and the dirt road Y, or 300 meters north of a small brown barn, or stuff like that. The problem with doing that is that dirt roads get paved. Names change. New roads get installed, old roads get abandoned. Barns fall down, burned down, replaced. I mean, it's not a good rock outcrop is going to stand the test of time a lot more than a man-made landmark. I also don't use my outcrop name. I'll use like river location, stuff like that. But I don't do that because if you don't know, if you're just visiting an area and you don't know where those rivers are, GPSs don't usually mark them very well. Other books will use some sort of coordinate location, like township and range, which in Canada doesn't do you a damn bit of good. Township and range coordinates only do a damn bit of difference. Number one, if you have a topographic map of township and range and you're in an area that uses township and range. A lot of like the ILSG will use what we call UTM coordinates. That's a little better, but the problem with UTM is it stands for Universal Translocator, I believe. And but here's the problem: it's not really universal. If you don't know your grid zone, you're not going to be able to know where you are. And so once again, if you don't have a topo map, so what do I use? I use GPS coordinates, and I use decimal GPS. Most GPS receivers can be swapped between decimal and minutes and seconds. I just prefer decimal. It's easier to type. It's easier to tell relative to one another than it is through minutes and seconds. But the good thing about using GPS is one coordinate is only analogous to one point on the planet. Okay? You don't have to worry about grid systems and switching systems and, is my topographic map good? Or, you don't have to worry about any of that garbage. I also I set my books up in another unique way. The only exception is my Illinois book because it was written under different circumstances, which I still got to publish, by the way. When you get to a site, if you look through my book and you get to a site, you open the book, and this is one of them. You open the book like this, what you'll have is you'll have the description on this side and then photos and figures on the other side. So when you're looking at it, everything's right in front of you. You don't have to flip-flop pages or go back or move forward or anything like that. So I do that pretty much for all of them, you know. And as you can see, everything's pretty standardized. My headings are pretty much the same, standard format. You know, some will have figures, others won't, depending on what I'm trying to convey. But, you know, the first few pages of the book is usually describing things and the geology of the area. That's what usually the first part is about, before I even get into this stuff. But I really wish I had color printer, because there are some beautiful, beautiful colors in this stuff. And, you know, and of course all my maps are this. I mean, the book will be in full color. There won't be any black and white photos in it at all. As a result, since I independently publish, they tend to be a little pricey. I don't make a lot of money off of these roadside books. My margin of profit is like 1 or 2%. I basically will add like $1 to whatever price they mandate, unless it's like my UP book, which is really thick. Then I think I set that at 50 cents above their recommended, or their required lowest price. Because when they print them out on demand. So I understand that. So that's why I divide these. Like I have another Canada road book that takes care of the area just south of this. So I divide them up like that, so they're not too lengthy and they don't get too expensive. But so I just wanted to explain how I set out my books. And you got some conglomerate here. Actually, you've got conglomerate in contact with basalt here. There's a lot of so I'm trying to flip through this relatively quickly. Sometimes I'll do things like add a transit along the outcrop. And I usually put my GPS, actually I always put my GPS coordinates down to 5 decimal places, because when you have a huge outcrop, that's way more than accurate. And I'll usually put it at a parking place. You got stuff like this, and sometimes you get lucky and you find a nice survey marker or something like that. You know, it's I try to and this is a good one. This outcrop is the largest one in the map area, and it's huge, but I only describe, because there's so much to see here, I only describe this one GPS location. The outcrop, here's some basic info, the other page of the outcrop, you know. Remember, none of this is edited, so if there's any errors, deal with it, I guess, until I can fix it. But yeah, it's got, yeah, I was just the color. But anyway, like this one, like that one, you've got basalt, Keweenaw basalt dikes cross-cutting Archean tonalites and granites, with another intrusion down here, and a possible fault up here. With the arrows showing relative movement. So, you know, there's a lot in this area, and I think I've got 24 outcrops right now. I may add 1 or 2 more, but I mean the total transit is maybe 200 kilometers, and that's a lot for that small of an area. But anyway, that's my rant. Hope you learned something.